because I loved this movie.
Yes.
It was so good. Okay, on paper, you know, the like monkey thing, I was skeptical and I loved it.
I'm Robbie Williams. I'm one of the biggest pop stars in the world. This is my story, but I'm not going to tell it in an ordinary way because I don't see myself how others see me.
For the next 2 hours, your ass is mine!
How was it pitched to you guys, especially you, Jonno? Like, why did it make so much sense?
I think Robbie's a cheeky monkey,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
You said it before. If anyone's going to do a film about Robbie Williams as a walking, talking chimpanzee, it's Michael Gracey, right? He's got background in musicals and background in VFX, so it's kind of a match made in heaven. But what was really great for me is that I knew that that monkey kind of allowed me to do the job. You know, without that, you're probably more likely to have an A-list star that comes in to do those sort of roles, right? And to have that pressure. So it allowed for someone like me to come in and try and show my abilities and say that I can tell this story. And thankfully, that's the kind of the baton that was handed to me. And it was such a privilege to tell that story and work with incredible casts like Rochelle and Steve and Alison and just kind of flip the musical biopic on its head. And that monkey allows us to go into a fantasy world. You know, those musical numbers. Just like on stage, you sing when words never say, you sing when words aren't enough anymore. And I think that's told really well in our film. And the monkey helps facilitate that, you know, the underwater sequences and, you know, things like that.
Absolutely. It's kind of like suspending your disbelief, but also like so grounded in reality, I guess, in the way that it's a semi-biography. What kind of pressure was that for you kind of taking on that story and what advice did Robbie give you?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure because, you know, it's one thing playing someone, but it's also, they're still alive. And they're still very much in the public eye. And so, and because he's been so well documented in terms of visually written about, there's a lot of, people feel like they know Robbie. And so I had to kind of pay homage to that, but then also go, you really don't know everything. Let me show you every other aspect of him that's more personable, which is more vulnerable, and show you maybe the reason why he did some of the more roguish things that he did, you know, as he was growing up. You know, show the reason why the spirals occurred, etc. And that felt pressure, but in a good way to make sure that he was presented in that light and not just this figure that people think they already have a perception of.
Was he kind of like constantly giving you insights before the scenes as to how you felt in that time?
No, really, he was really generous in the sense that he kind of went, I trust you. Like, you know, you've got this job for a reason. I'm not going to be there at this corner saying I would have said it differently, anything like that. We had some brilliant conversations early on when I first got cast and we were kind of rehearsing, which was priceless for me. It meant that I got to see that version that other people don't. We got to speak a little bit more about his background, his upbringing, which is such a huge part of our story, especially as that's our introduction to Rob with like the mini chimpanzee. We need everyone to be on board there so that when he goes into his kind of darker spirals, we're still fighting for him because we've seen this little chimpanzee be abandoned, you know, as a young kid.
Absolutely.
So having kind of him on side and just kind of that trust was really freeing.
Yeah, and you obviously play Nicole Appleton, who's like such a key figure, it seems, in Robbie's life. What kind of insights did he give you when you were taking it on? And did you have any contact with her?
I actually just met Nicole yesterday.
Oh, how did it
Yeah,
go?
it was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was, I feel like I've known her forever. Like, she's just that kind of person. She's very warm and very generous. I was just saying, I actually haven't met Robbie yet.
Oh, wow.
I think just schedules and everything like that. So I was very fortunate to have people like Michael and Simon and Oliver to really be able to open me up to the world of Robbie that they wanted to portray, and obviously having Jonno there, who had just so captured everything that we needed to feel the Robbie that we were trying to tell. And that just meant that I was in this playground of collaboration and could bring my version of Nicole to the table. And, you know, I'd done my own research, but then coming on and trying to figure out where those pieces all come together.
Yeah, and you kind of go through this storyline together, I guess, where Nicole gets pregnant and ends up having an abortion because of the record company's kind of pressure. And I know from looking into it that she felt like suicidal at that time and kind of maybe had regrets. What was it like kind of taking on such a sensitive topic that I guess is someone else's?
I think anytime that you're dealing with content that is as delicate as that, regardless if it's real, based on real events or not. I think you want to do it with real care because people out there are dealing with these sorts of things, you know. But then knowing that these are real people that are involved in this, we wanted to both honour their story back then as these young people that were having such a heavy burden put on them and a trauma, but then also people who now have families of their own and wanting to honour them now and making sure that everyone was comfortable, but that we could still communicate the story. And we worked really closely with Michael and Simon on that to make sure that we told it in a way that both felt creatively on the right page, but then also was respectful.
Absolutely, yeah, so important, and you guys did a great job. And kind of shifting away to the more like performance side of things, like the Nebworth, getting ready for that, and like it's such a high energy performance where you're just like watching loads of videos, and like how was that, especially in the suit? Was it a bit sweaty or
a bit? Oh my god, the colour of that suit would change. Like it would just get greyer and greyer as the days would go on.
Michael finds that so entertaining.
I know, he tells that story a lot. I'm like, all right, okay, I've got a sweating issue. Let's all calm down.
Come on, let's be a bit of privacy.
But no, that one in particular, that was nuts because it's so fueled with adrenaline, right? It's just fear. Like that's charging that whole performance. And that was one of the ones that we actually really wanted to kind of be like for like as the original performance. A lot of the other stuff is obviously kind of in Rob's head, or we've had a bit more creative license with the choreography. Whereas that was, we're going to go match for match. So thankfully that's on YouTube, and I would just eat my cereal, have my dinner over and over again, work with Ashley Warren, the choreographer, and just make sure that we had that kind of kinetic energy about it when we were doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you smashed it. I think
thank you.
just very lastly, this kind of deals with like fame and anonymity, and you were kind of mentioning how your face isn't actually going to be that much more recognisable after this. But I guess as an actor, you almost kind of want it to be in a way because you get like more money, more roles. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's more of a battle in terms of being able to, for me, I'd love people to be able to connect the dots from the original performance to the final product that they see, you know. But in terms of, that's kind of the afterthought. It meant that when we were doing it, it was really liberating because it wasn't my face and I didn't have to worry about how I looked. I just had to focus on the story that needed to be told and the relationships, the connections with the other actors and the other characters. And that's a blessing because then you've kind of, you're stripping away maybe one of the guards that you put up as an actor sometimes, that kind of self-awareness. So yeah, it was a completely unique experience and one that I'd love to do more of. Yeah.
Well, we'll get your face out there now.
Thank you.
Thank you so
everywhere.
much, guys. That was really amazing. And I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.